All right, so this time covering another look-alike, quasi-identical, whatever you want, whatever term you want to use, but another pairing that often look alike and get confused pretty easily, especially when you come from MBTI and other things. So we have the ILE, which is the ENTP, and then we have the LIE, which is the ENTJ. Um, these are two types, like I said, that get really confused a lot, particularly when you're coming out of MBTI world, um, Carl Jungian world, whatever. Pretty much anything that's other than socionics. So these two types look alike because they are both NTs. They're both extroverted. Um, they're both demonstrating a strong usage of certain particular functions, such as both are using a lot of NE, both are using a lot of TE. Um, yeah, they're really using a lot of both of them. So, in other words, these are two types that are going to be clearly very nerdy, um, clearly using a lot of abstract things, metaphors. Um, they're going to be interested in a lot of your just typical intellectual, rational type of things. They're both going to show a lot of NE and a lot of interest in a wide variety of topics. Um, both are going to show some interest in that. So there's a good chance that they tend to be that person in the room who just seems to know a little bit about so many different things, about all kinds of subjects. They are capable of just talking and talking and talking about things at length for a long time with lots of information, lots of details, lots of facts, lots of understanding of how the things kind of work. Um, and mostly just like intellectualizing abstract things. Both will have less of an interest in more pragmatic, down to earth stuff, like how to actually do stuff, day to day stuff, the day to day tasks of living. Both are going to seem like they're not really all that interested in that. Um, both will have good use of NI, like really all the rational NTs. So where do they get really noticeably different? Well, it really just comes down to the values. They value different elements. Your ENTJ, your LIE values TE, values practical stuff. To them, they're looking at information, they're looking at all this abstract NT nerdy stuff, and they're looking for how could this be applied? How is this useful to me or to people around me, or how could this potentially be useful? Where is the potential utility in what we're talking about or what we're doing and so on? There's much more of a focus on that utility with the LIEs than there is with the ILEs. ILEs may enjoy going in a lot of different directions in a conversation or different topics, even if it doesn't really have much application. It may not be really all that useful to them. They just kind of enjoy the process of just kind of exploring different concepts and ideas, exploring different walks of life and different people's approaches to things. And they just find that exploration of it interesting in and of itself, just for its own reasons. Um, so an LIE may be a little bit more dismissive quickly on topics because to them, they're like, you know what, this theoretical thing we're discussing just is meaningless. It doesn't really have any useful point to it. So why do I care? Um, the LIEs will also be more dismissive in terms of um, bits of information that they feel is irrelevant. They'll probably be quicker to listen to information, a lecture, a conversation piece, whatever, and start eliminating pieces of it that they feel is unnecessary, it's not relevant, or it's not useful. That can just go. It's background information. The ILEs won't necessarily do that. They will go through everything. They'll listen to it all, and try to make sense of it all. Try to put things where it all makes logical, coherent, consistent sense. And again, it may not really be useful to them in any real way. It might not matter. Because of this, this also means that these two types tend to also pursue different hobbies and careers, in a very different way. Um, LIEs tend to get that stereotype of being a little bit more hardworking, career oriented, because they're trying to go into professions or things that are more um, directly applicable within the world, within the concept. They want to do things that are like getting things done in some way. It's either making money, or it's leading to promotions, or it's leading to maybe some kind of a goal they have in mind. It could be something more personal that they want to achieve in the world. They want to create, and they're constantly trying to do these things, go after these things. Your ILEs can enjoy just kind of theorizing about stuff. You'll see it a lot even on typology things, uh, typology conversations, people's channels, whatever, where you'll notice a lot of your NTP types, your LIIs, your ILEs, will spend an enormous amount of time debating, discussing, going on about philosophy, different philosophers and their views of it, comparing one to the other. How does this really mean? Is it consistent? Is it not? Many of them will also go on about even type things, and they'll be arguing with somebody else's system about whether extroverted sensing is defined correctly, or whether extroverted thinking is defined correctly, or who has the better definition, or does that really make sense when you do this, and it's entering this world of almost philosophy stuff. Your LIEs, are going to kind of start looking at this like, who cares? Where's the practical point to this anymore? Move on, keep moving forward, keep the ball going forward. Stop arguing over and over, reinventing the wheel, and trying to go on and on about a minor technical detail, and the consistency of that minor thing, or what at least it seems minor to an LIE. Right? These are very different. So that's why it leads to different career goals. Now, the other way to kind of tell the difference is really where it's going to show a lot too, is in the vulnerable functions, the vulnerable areas, and the suggestive functions. This is really a standout piece. For the LIEs, they have FI suggestive, and I noticed that for the LIEs, they tend to value their meaningful relationships a lot. They really care a lot about having significant relationships with people, long lasting, deep, significant other type of stuff. It tends to have a big impact on them. It can really be a source of stress for the LIEs, because they might be in search of a significant other. Um, they may still be kind of struggling to have the kind of social connections that they want, um, and they're struggling a little bit with that. So that's kind of a source of personal stress for them. But when they get it, it's hugely important to them. It's very much a huge piece of their um, well-being, their happiness, their sense of purpose, everything. It can be huge. Likewise, or I'm sorry, on the other side of it, they're SI vulnerable. They don't give a shit about SI things. So taking time off, taking vacations, getting sleep, getting the right food, enjoying a good meal that somebody cooked for you, um, enjoying those nice little things in life. They don't care about those things. Having like pleasant little conversations where everybody feels good and everybody's like tranquil and so forth. These are not things that LIEs usually care about. Um, so I hear it with certain people. You could look at, uh, you could listen to Jack Aaron there from World Socionics. He's an ILE, and he will mention, for example, he doesn't get upset. He likes positive, pleasant environments, and how he can be in a bad mood, and you give him a nice piece of food, something pleasant to eat, and he's transformed all of a sudden. It brightens his mood instantly. He is just in a better place because he's being taken care of. Um, as an LIE, that doesn't do shit. I don't relate to that at all. I could be in a bad mood and I don't give a shit that you just brought me a nice meal. Yeah, okay, I'll eat it and it's like fine, but it didn't change me from my mood. It didn't really affect me that much. I don't care. It's not significant to me. But a good emotional connection to somebody, having a good time emotionally, getting along with somebody that I like, that I enjoy, spending time with them the way I want to, that will change my mood. That will make me feel happy. That will have a huge difference on me. Flipping this around, if we're looking at the ILEs, we just mentioned they do like SI stuff, and they don't like or don't appreciate the FI things. They have a harder time understanding who they like, why they like them, understanding their feelings towards that person and how they make them feel, and just dealing in that kind of world and that very personal, intimate space. Um, and dealing with the things that they appreciate. They have a much harder time understanding that and keeping those people close and so forth. Um, so they have a harder time appreciating that. Meanwhile, a nice piece of food or something comforting to them, they enjoy more. They enjoy their creature comforts more. So these are all things to kind of look at. Again, one type is going to be looking at things in a more pragmatic, how can I use this? How can it be used by people? How do we implement it? Versus another type that could be just very NE enjoying, and they're just interested in ideas, any idea. It doesn't matter how useful it is or not, and they'll enjoy that. Um, one type is showing you that they care a lot more about their personal relationships. It's deeply meaningful to them, versus the other who can enjoy creature comforts more and peaceful spaces and things like that to work in. Um, there also has a tendency where you'll see the stereotypes of like LIEs, again, wanting to work more, wanting to be more ambitious. So they get that stereotype of being constantly working, constantly doing things. And because they're constantly doing things, they tend to achieve a lot of things. Many of them end up having all kinds of titles and degrees and awards, or become business managers or leaders, or um, doctorates, usually in more applied sciences, applied areas, and things like that. Um, um, Whereas you get your ILEs, and they may be more interested in a lot of theoretical things, maybe theoretical sciences, philosophy, um, may enjoy becoming academic types, professors, and so on. Um, Preferring to work kind of in environments that are a little bit more slow paced, really not very physical. Um, really spending a lot of time intellectualizing with other people, more so probably than the LIEs. The LIEs are probably want to get to action more. Um, LIEs do value SE. So LIEs may be kind of nerdy when they're younger, but as they age and depending on what they do for a living, they may start to display a lot more SE usage. They may start to display being a lot more assertive, a lot more aggressive, in their conversation, um, showing a certain desire to be more dominant of people, and maybe more of an interest in doing more physical things, pushing themselves to be stronger, to be faster, to overcome challenges, um, fighting for, again, title, promotion, things like that, be climbing a corporate ladder. They have to overcome those obstacles to get there. More money, maybe. Building their own businesses, which is difficult, right? It's a lot easier to join an organization that's already set up and going to consistently pay you than it is for you to start your own business. Um, Now you have to work a lot harder. You got to do a lot more things. So that's another little tidbit you tend to notice. Uh, then there's just as simple as wrapping all this together into alpha quadrant, gamma quadrant. ILEs are alpha quadrant types. So overall, they tend to be more with this open-mindedness of letting everyone in. Let's all get together. Let's all have a say. Everybody, let's all talk and have fun and share in a good time and share in a good conversation. Everyone is welcome. LIEs, on the other hand, are much more selective on who they want to talk to, who they want to listen to. They don't believe that everyone should have a say at the table, that everyone's word or opinion is equally valid. Um, they don't want to hear everyone out. They don't want to entertain every single idea. Um, they can be a lot more harsh or rude or unpleasant, um, because they're just more open with the fact that they don't want to hear everyone's opinion. They don't believe in everyone's opinion, or that they'll shut down maybe a conversation because they'll say, you know what, this is no practical point. There's no why are we even discussing this? They might be more vocal about that. um, uh, Much more harsh also on their opinions where they just don't like certain people, and we'll just say, well, these people are idiots, or this person's a moron, or that person, I don't care, they believe in crazy things and I don't, and they'll more likely say those kinds of things rather than the ILEs. The ILEs might not really say any of those things, be more open and welcoming of everybody. The ILE may criticize people more, not the person, but their ideas more. They might criticize the idea because the idea is not consistent. It's the lack of TI. Their ideas are all over the place. They're inconsistent. Their values are inconsistent. Um, they might point out that, hey, you were saying that you like this or you believed in this, and now all of a sudden you're saying this. Well, that's not consistent. Now you're jumping around here. Uh, so ILEs will have this more philosophical, like relaxed professorial like conversation where they're just discussing the ideas and nothing. It's not personal, nothing. We're just talking about the ideas and where the ideas make sense, and wherever the ideas go, they go, and that's it. It's a much more relaxed, jovial kind of environment where the LIEs are much more like, hey, are we having a conversation about something that actually is relevant in some way? Does it matter? Are you somebody that I can trust in your opinions? Are your opinions ridiculous? If you start having too many inconsistencies or your opinions start to sound idiotic, then the LIE is going to start to write you off and go, you know what, this person is just a moron. This person is just a moron, or this person is just so radically different than me and what they want to do that they're, listen, just get away from me. You can go that way and do your crazy stuff over there. Just stay away from me. Right. So simple vibe, ILEs tend to be more relaxed, more of the goofy, easygoing kind of person who just kind of wants to play around with ideas. Really shows little to no SE, whereas the LIE typically, over time anyway, become much more aggressive, a little bit more. I'm on my own, doing my own thing. I only have time for the people I want to make time for. And a much harsher, more serious-minded kind of person. They come across a bit more serious. And that lets the LIE at times appear almost like an SLE or LSE and some of these more so-called serious kind of types, serious hardworking types. Yeah, so pretty much covers most of it. And when you're looking at the differences and figuring them out, if you're trying to type yourself or you're trying to type somebody else, again, these are look-alike types that they like I said, they look alike. Especially early in life, they can look a lot alike. And they can be hard to tell unless you start asking deeper questions. The question, sometimes if you can't ask questions, I would say that you can tell the difference a lot just by their demeanor. You know, do they come across as somebody who's much more relaxed, professorial, very easygoing with ideas and opinions? They're not really aggressive with people. They're not dismissing people. Do they seem relaxed professional, like they're not really working that hard to try to achieve big things, get promotions, money, things like that, or change the world in some way? That's probably an ILE. If there's somebody who's the opposite of all those things, they're a little bit harsher with people, they're a little bit more go go go, let's get things done, I have things to do, I have goals to achieve, I'm trying to rise the ranks, get more things, a bit more aggressive in their tone and their speech, you're probably dealing now with an LIE, right? Simple things to do. So pretty much I think that covers it. That covers it. You'll notice again, a lot of people in the typology community, especially in socionics, there's a lot of LIIs and ILEs because a lot of typology and especially socionics tends to be very TI heavy. So there's a lot of people sitting around debating what is perception, what is the definition of SE, is do you have the right definition, maybe it's NI, or what's this, and they're just going on and around in circles trying to get some kind of definition and consistency. This is all the TI stuff going crazy. It starts to sound very theoretical constantly. LIEs, you don't see them as often in these kinds of discussions and things because they're not as interested in that. They're much more interested in how do we apply this? Is it working in the real world? When I look at someone, are they matching the description and matching the definitions on that we have set forward? How is this working in the real world? And is it useful for us? That's what the LIE is really focused on. So they're not spending as much time on these forums and these arguments over SE and TE and like all these kind of things. It's just not as relevant to them. Probably one of the reasons why there needs to be a bit more strong TE like users like LIEs and others in these kinds of chats in these rooms to kind of help balance out all the ILEs out there. All right. So anyway, I think that's more enough. It's probably went on pretty long there. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe.